and I've thought about it. This question, I'm not going to involve Bobby Klittman or Ron Holland.
Okay.
If you had to build around 3 players out of the core 4, who would you build around and why?
Okay. Cade is an automatic. Cade is obviously going to be in that grouping. I would go Duren. Again, I just think him and Cade's connection, it's very special. I think it's going to make a lot of good sense moving forward. Three, I'd go Ivey. I would go Jaden Ivey as my 3. I think those are the 3 I'm most high on right now. I know it's a lot of buzz for Ausar. To me, the thing is about Ausar, yes, he's very good at what he does. His defense, his defensive upside is there. Like, I have no question about that. It makes the most sense, especially considering the lack of perimeter defense that they've had over the past few seasons. I think he's fantastic in that regard, even though he does need to work on some things with that. Him and Duren both had the same problem of defending with fouling or without fouling. I just think the problem with Ausar is his negatives need so much work that it kind of worries me in terms of where he's even going to be used. Like, I don't even know if he's going to start at this point of the season. That doesn't mean he's not going to have a role. He's not going to be valuable. He does have good upside. Again, I like what we saw from him before he was even drafted. He's a good player. I like his upside, but I think like a big bugaboo that people talk about with Jaden Ivey is his jump shot. Sure, but we have seen that look good. Like, there are games where I can still peel back. The Kings game on the road, I think against the Clippers, he showed out. Against the Pacers on the road, where he finally got into the starting lineup. Like, he was showing out and showing that he can be valuable and that jump shot's not broken. It looks better and better since he came out of the draft. And honestly, for me, man, while yes, we do want to see that jump shot be a little bit more consistent. We don't want to see him have that Jalen Green, like, sporadic kind of efficiency. I think what he's so good at, though, with his speed, his ability to draw contact, I think he draws contact better than any other Piston on the roster and getting to the free throw line. If he's excelling with that and playing off ball, which he's accustomed and used to doing anyway, and maybe getting some minutes staggered as a backup point to kind of help out with the second lineup or the second unit, I think that serves them better than just Ausar being really good on defense and hoping he can do something offensively. Because right now, the jump shot's not there. The handle was really unimpressive, especially given the hype that he got coming in from the draft. The mid-range game wasn't there. It seemed like, granted, again, that's another Monty Williams issue. He was sticking him in the corner for so long. It seemed like when he did get the ball, he didn't really know what to do with it, it seemed like. So, like, for me, I feel like Jaden Ivey is confident and polished enough and has so much special upside with his speed and his ability to get to the rim and his athleticism. I don't want to give up on that yet. I think him and Cade fit well together. I think, again, Cade has shown the ability to play off ball. Ivey's shown the ability to play on ball and do whatever is needed for the team to mesh and, put together some production. And then obviously Duren, we just talked about him on the last segment. I just think those 3 right now are so polished with what they're good at. It makes the most sense to keep those guys around. Like, you can just put shooters around those 3, and I think it could work. If we see them at their prime as they keep growing and ascending, I think it'll be easier to put pieces around those 3 than it would be to bring in someone like Ausar or Stu or whoever else people think is in that core. I just think those 3 make the most sense right now based on how they play with each other.
Yeah, I think this is a hard question because you have one side of the coin. It's like, I like Jaden Ivey. I think he has potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was misused last season, and he's probably had the toughest road out of any player out of the core 4 of being a 2 guard next to Cade his rookie year to going to, okay, now I'm the point guard. Okay, now I'm going to be playing behind Killian Hayes and kind of going back into maybe starting next to Cade, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. I think my 3 are Cade, Duren, and Ausar. Not to say I don't think Jaden Ivey isn't talented. I'm a little bit higher on Ausar than Jaden Ivey. It's not to say that I don't think Jaden Ivey's an incredible talent. I think he's really good. I just think a big reason why we saw Trajan Langdon acquire so many shooting guards. I think the writing's a little bit on the wall of they want to see what happens when you put veterans around Ivey, see how he reacts. I think this is more of a test to see how Jaden Ivey reacts, bringing in a Malik Beasley who's already an elite three-point shooter, bringing in a Tim Hardaway Jr. that can start or he can be a sixth man. The reason why I'm higher on Ausar is I already think the defense is elite. I already think he's one of the best defenders. I think he's the best defender on the team. And I want to put this on the screen because someone had commented something, and I think there's a lot of talk about it. And it comes from Gabe Nuts. He says, hot take, but Ausar with handles is better than Ausar with the jumper. Remember what happened to Giannis? Finally developed his handle and gets to the rim automatically. I'm not comparing the two, but I think Ausar with the handle, Ausar has an explosive first step. His ability to finish with either his right or left hand. I honestly think if he doesn't develop a jump shot, but he develops more of a tighter handle, obviously there was a lot of, to your point in the OTE, Ausar was playing a lot of backup guard and Amen was the lead guard. I think if Ausar developed a handle, to Game Knots' point, he doesn't really need to, be a 40% three-point shooter. But if he does develop a jump shot, and he, develops a handle, which I don't think both will happen. It's either one or the other most times with these players. But I think most people would probably look at Ausar, look at the physical tools he has, look at the potential, and say, if he develops, either a handle or a jump shot, you have a two-way player that could score. Not to say Ivey can't score. It's just I have a lot of questions about Ivey. It's consistency. Is he going to have kind of like PTSD with another brand new coach? Like, I don't know how much of Monty Williams got in his head because I've never seen rookie Jaden Ivey was very positive. Would talk to everybody. Very short this season with media. He was I don't want to say he was depressed, but he wasn't as upbeat as he was. And I don't know if that was because of the losing streak. I don't know if that was because, he wasn't playing. Killian Hayes is playing in front of him. I have a lot of questions about Jaden Ivey, and I think it's not so much of his game. It's more on the mental side.
I feel you on that. I had the pleasure of being able to talk to his father. Shout out to Javen Hunter. We had him over on Sports Rat Radio when it was still going. He spoke to a lot of that because we talked a lot about it. I mean, it was hard to ignore how the season started with where they put Ivey, where they started Killian Hayes, and they were putting him on and off the bench, and just a lot of things that didn't really make sense. And I talked to his pops about that. I'm like, yo, I respect and really appreciated. Yes, I agree with you. There was some short, like statements and kind of sentiments from him emotion-wise. And I don't blame him. 28-game losing streak, bro, I'd be in the dumps too. I totally understand. But his ability to, again, we talk about this with young players all the time, is not just how they grow physically and athletically with their game on the court, but mature-wise, or like how are they going to be able to respond when things don't go smooth for them, when they're not, obviously when you come in the draft, he had the list and everything of how he wants to be an all-star and MVP, and he had all these expectations. And I never saw anything from him. Like, granted, if he would have sat on the bench and pounded his fist or had a back and forth with Monty or was, doing, subliminal tweeting on social media or something like that, that would worry me a little bit. It would have been understood why, but I respect his ability to kind of rise above it and say, hey, whatever I need to do, I'm going to go out there and make it happen. Even when he did get the word that he was coming out the bench, say, hey, I'm going to still be J.I. I told his pops that I really was impressed, and I respected that a lot about him. And I feel like that hopefully will be able to carry over with J.B. Bickerstaff. Hopefully, again, we don't know what we're going to see with him. We don't know what his plan is as of right now, but we do know he has a plan, and he at least wants to see how they're going to be able to mesh together. Yeah. I think, again, I like the guards they brought in. I like Tim Hardaway Jr. Malik Beasley was somebody I shouted out as an acquisition that would make sense. But I do think Ivey does bring that dynamic that Cade doesn't have with speed. And again, as long as he's not getting calls from the ref, I think Ivey does get that whistle just because his speed and his athleticism and his His electric motor at the rim makes the most sense. So I don't know. I think it's there, and hopefully we can see a little bit more of that growth coming next season.
Yeah, for sure. I think you could make a case for both Ausar and Ivey. I think they're both talented. I think Ivey, to your point, brings the dynamic and transition, open court, just his agility, his speed, getting to the rim. I think the only thing I would like to see him get better at is finishing around the rim a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because there's times where he's out of control, and that's to be expected. He's a young player. And being that fast, he's probably faster than like 90% of the people that are in front of him. So, you know, when you're that wide open, maybe you miss around the rim every now and then. But I think the one thing with him is consistency with that jump shot. And last year, I thought we saw growth defensively. I thought, he was trying on defense. He got a lot better defensively. Obviously, it was a 14-win season, 28-game losing streak. People aren't really concerned about if Jaden Ivey's defense got better. They want to win games. Like, I get it.
Right.
But I think he had progressions last year of, being able to switch defensively. He had months where he was shooting, close to 40% from three, but then he also had months where he was shooting sub 20 from three, which he's a young player. That's to be expected. But I also think the reason why Trajan brought in shooters like Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. is those are two veteran guys that have skill sets that Jaden Ivey wants to have. He wants to be able to shoot 8 threes a game at a probably 40% clip like Malik Beasley can. He wants to be like a microwave, like a Tim Hardaway Jr. I think those are two vets for him that he could learn from, and they're not really going to be here long term. They're 1-year deals, but hey, who knows? They might want to come back, but I think those are two vets that he can learn from, and I think there's a big reason why Trajan Langdon decided to target those two, because those are two players that I think he should just be soaking up the knowledge each and every day of, getting better with his 3-point shot.
For sure. Yeah. And I see it with Ausar too. I mean, obviously he sees, bringing Fontecchio back, going to get a Tobias Harris, like those guys, they're going to do wonders for both of those two young players. They got a lot of growth to embrace. I see it coming for both of them. I don't know. I just feel like Ausar, I feel like his room of growth, while again, he's very good defensively, I just feel like his room of growth is just a lot higher at this current moment. So as it stands right now, just knowing that Ivey has shown the ability to pass, you just spoke to his growth on defense. I would like to see him get a little bit better from the free throw line. Like if you're going to get there, close to 10 times a game, hopefully you got to be shooting around 80%. Like I didn't like him shooting low 70s. I thought that was really underperforming for him. And I do think that'll get better with the help of a Fred Vincent. So I don't know. I really like what Ivey brings, and I just really like that potential dynamic between him and Cade.
Yeah, same here. It's I just know this season a lot of the narratives are already getting kind of put out with contract years with JD and Jaden Ivey, and I just have a feeling it's going to be very toxic, and I don't want it to be toxic.
Yep.
I hope both of these guys come out and just shine, and we're faced with a big problem, because I don't want to see these guys have another down season, and the fan base is shitting on them, because you know how fans are. It's just it gets so toxic.